Hello students, welcome again to a new session in Educators Plus. I am Akarshi, your English faculty at Educators Plus. So students, today we are going to study the second part of Indian literature. If you have attended my previous session of Indian literature, then you must be knowing that we have covered few writers that are frequently asked in examination and the important works of them. I have also told you the main plot, the characters or the setting of that particular work. Okay, and if you have also attended my PYQ sessions, then you must be knowing that I have discussed some authors and works of the writers which are asked in your previous year's exam as it is. Okay, so students, I hope you are doing well and your studies are going very well and you are preparing well from the sessions also and you are enjoying as well. Okay, so today also I have brought some few more writers of Indian literature, and I'll be covering the works of them. Also will be telling you the main character and the plots associated with those works. Fine. Okay, let me know in the chat box, am I audible and visible to you properly? Please let me know in the chat box. Okay. Okay, so then let's begin the class. Okay, so today the first writer that we're going to discuss is Anita Desai. Okay, so Anita Desai forms a major part of your Indian literature, and the most of the questions have been asked from her works. Okay, so these are some notable works of Anita Desai: Cry the Peacock, Bye Bye Blackbird, Fire on the Mountain, The Village by the Sea, Fasting and Feasting the Zigzag Way, and Games at Twilight. ठीक है, ये जो कुछ works हैं इनसे आपसे पुराने एग्जाम्स में और पुराने प्रीवियस ईयर्स में आपसे से क्वेश्चंस आए गए. ठीक है, सो यू शुड रिमेंबर दैट अनीता देसाई इज अ नॉवेलिस्ट एंड अ शॉर्ट स्टोरी राइटर एंड शी इज बोर्न इन इंडिया. ठीक है, शी ऑल्सो राइट शॉर्ट स्टोरीज एज वेल एंड शी ऑल्सो इज अ राइटर ऑफ novels. Fine. Okay, let's begin with the first work, that is this Cry the Peacock, Bye Bye Blackbird. You just have to remember the titles, or you can just go over the main character and setting. Nothing else, you have to go with that. And these are the important works. इनसे डेप्थ में क्वेश्चन आते हैं. So I will be discussing these 5 novels of Anita Desai. ठीक है, so the first novel is Fire on the Mountain. So basically Fire on a Mountain is a novel by Anita Desai and it is written in 3 parts. Okay, so please remember that Anita Desai का जो Fire on the Mountain है, it has been written in 3 parts. Okay, and it's the story revolves around the psyches of Nanda and to a lesser extent Raka, who was Nanda's great granddaughter. ठीक है, so Nanda की great granddaughter का नाम क्या था? It was Raka, and it is actually the main protagonist or the central protagonist of the Fire on the Mountain is Nanda. Okay, so what are the characters' name? Nanda and Raka. Please remember the characters as well. Make a note of the characters, that Nanda and Raka are the main or the central character of the work Fire on the Mountain. Okay, so in this particular novel, when Ila Das is raped and killed, so that violent action happens off stage at the end of the novel, almost simultaneously with Raka's announcement that she has set the forest on fire. ठीक है, so who set the forest on fire? It was Raka, who was Nanda's great granddaughter. Fine. And while there are very few important events in the rest of the novel, this Anita Desai prepares the reader for the horrific ending by carefully embedding you can say the violence in her imagery and in her symbolism also. ठीक है, and please remember that this work Fire on the Mountain has won the Sahitya Academy Award also. ठीक है, so Anita Desai has been given Sahitya Academy Award for her novel Fire on the Mountain. Fine, please make a note of it. Okay, that Anita Desai has been given a Sahitya Academy Award for her work Fire on the Mountain. Is it clear? So please remember the main character Nanda, Raka, and violence is the imagery over here. And who sets the forest on fire? It was Raka who set the forest on fire. Fine. Next is The Village by the Sea. So this particular work is set in a very small village called Thul. ठीक है, इसका जो setting है, the village name is Thul. And where is Thul? Thul is actually, you can say, the 14 kilometers from Bombay. So it is a place in Western India, and it is 14 kilometers from Bombay. And this particular work focuses on a family trying to make ends meet. Okay, so they are poor, so they are striving, and they are actually working hard to make their ends meet. Okay, and who were the main protagonists of this work? The main protagonists are Leela, who was the eldest child and who is 13 years old, and her 12-year-old brother Hari. Okay, so Leela and Hari are the two characters in this work, The Village by the Sea. So Village by the Sea के दो characters कौन से हैं? Leela and Hari. Leela was the eldest child who was 13 years old, and her younger brother Hari was 12 years old. And this particular work is known as the children's fiction based on the experience in Thul, where she went with her children. So this Anita Desai went to Thul with her children, and whatever experience or children's experience she has depicted in this particular fiction in the form of the characters Leela and Hari. Okay, so please remember this thing. So it is a kind of a children's fiction. तो आपको जॉनर भी पता होना चाहिए किस वर्क का कौन सा जॉनर है. फाइन. Next work is fasting and feasting. Okay, fasting and feasting is another work, and again, like Fire in the Mountain, it is written in two parts. So Fire in the Mountain was written in three parts. Feasting and fasting has been written in two parts. It has been written in two parts. Please remember that. Okay, and basically the story contrasts the life of the main characters. And who were the main characters? Uma. And who was Uma? Uma was the family's older daughter with Arun, the boy and the baby of the family. So बोलते हैं जो सबसे छोटा बच्चा होता है, that has been treated as baby. So Arun was treated as a baby of the house, and his elder sister name was Uma. So Arun and Uma are the two characters. Okay, so इसमें लीला हरी था, इसमें Uma and Arun है. Okay, I'm telling you the main characters. Yes, good morning, Mosmi. Okay, I'm telling you the main characters. Please remember this because characters से भी questions आते हैं आपके इसमें Indian literature में. Fine. Also, please remember that in this particular work, Uma spends her life in subservience to her older demanding parents. Okay, so her parents were very demanding, and she has been dedicated his life to actually her life has spent being under the subservience of her parents' demanding nature. And while massive effort and energy expended to ensure that Arun's education and placement in a university in Massachusetts. Okay, so basically this Uma was the elder child of the family, and she has a responsibility on her shoulders to actually take care of a baby brother Arun. And what she has been making efforts for, she has been making efforts so that Arun can get a placement and it can have an education from the university in Massachusetts. So please remember, it has a foreign reference. So this Arun has been education to university in Massachusetts. So that's why she was putting effort, or that's why she has a responsibility on her shoulders. Fine. Is this clear? Okay. Next is the zigzag way. So this is again a very important work of Anita Desai, and you should remember that this novel is about the American academic and writer who goes with his girlfriend to Mexico, and there he rediscovers the passion for fiction writing. So this is so you should just remember that this is a novel about some American academic and writer. So he went to USA with his actually girlfriend, and there he discovered that yes, I can write, I have a passion for writing, and there he became a writer. So please remember, it is a story about an American academic person. Okay, is this clear? Fine. Next is Games at Twilight. This is again a very important work. Please mark it important. So Games in Twilight also is a work by Anita Desai, and it is a collection of the short stories. ठीक है, जो उसकी जो short story का collection था, that is actually the Games at Twilight. So please remember, the short story collection of Anita Desai is Games at Twilight. So Games at Twilight is the short story collection by Anita Desai. Please mark it important. Please write all the important points which I have mentioned on the board. And I hope you have got a great glimpse of Anita Desai as a writer. In case any problem, you can just put in the chat box. I will be answering your doubts. If no, so let's proceed further. Okay. Next is Ruth Pravar Jabwala. So he is again a very important writer, Ruth Pravar Jabwala. And you should remember that he is a very great writer of Indian literature. Okay? So she basically is a very important writer after Anita Desai, and you should remember that she has not an Indian origin writer. Okay, so she was basically a German-born British American novelist. So German-born British American novelist. So उसका origin Indian नहीं था. She was not born in India. She was not brought up in India. She was an German-born British American novelist, and she is the only person to have won both Booker Prize and an Oscar. ठीक है, उसने Booker Prize भी लिया है plus Oscar. Okay, she has been awarded both, and she is the only person, you should remember, she is the only writer which has been awarded with both a Booker Prize and an Oscar. Okay, and she has written many works and novels, although you can say tales on Indian subjects. Okay, so उसका जो main theme उसकी works का क्या होता था? It used to deal with Indian subject and what was her experience in New Delhi. Okay, so maybe she has visited New Delhi, and whatever experience she has experienced in the the capital city of India, that is New Delhi, she used to portray that in her works, and basically her works used to deal with the Indian subjects. ठीक है, please remember वो किससे deal करती थी? She used to deal with Indian subjects plus her experience in New Delhi. Okay, please make a note of all these points. Fine. And what are her works? Esmond in India, A New Dominion, Heat and Dust, and Shakespeare Wala. So these are some of the important works of Ruth Jawar Jabwala, and the Heat of the Dust won also a Booker Prize. Okay, so you should remember the Heat of the Dust has won a Booker Prize. Please remember that. Fine. Is this clear? And this Shakespeare Wala is a screenplay. Okay, it is a screenplay. Please remember that her screenplay Shakespeare Wala is an adaptation of E.M. Foster, A Room with a View, and Howard's End. This is a very important point. You should remember that जो उसने screen पे लिखा था Shakespeare Wala, it is an adaptation of E.M. Foster. किसका adaptation था? E.M. Foster, The Room with a View and Howard's End. दो उसकी वर्क्स जो है A.M. Foster की, दोनों का ये adaptation था Shakespeare वाला, and the Heat and Dust has won the Booker Prize. So that's why I told you she is the only person who have received the Booker Prize and Oscar. And किसके लिए उसने Booker Prize जीता था? उसने Booker Prize जीता था Heat and Dust के लिए. Fine. Is it clear? Any problem? You can ask in the chat box if you are facing any problem or have not understood something. So please remember the name. इसकी ज़्यादा डेप्थ में उसकी वर्क्स में जाना नहीं है. Just remember the name. Esmond या New Dominion. ये डायरेक्टली ज़्यादातर इसके वर्क्स मैच द कॉलम्स में आते हैं. Okay, so you have been given a writers list and the works list, and you have to match. So please remember the titles of her work. Okay. Now let's move ahead. Okay. Next is Arundhati Roy. So Arundhati Roy, if in my previous year's question session, I have discussed about this author, but I have brought this author again for those who have not attended my previous year's question class. So you should remember that Arundhati Roy is a novelist and who has spent most of her childhood in Kerala. So she was a Kerala born writer. Please remember the nationality also, sorry, the state in which she is born, because ये सब भी आपसे questions में आते हैं कि उसने अपनी stories में किस city को किस state को उसने depict करा है. So that type question, अगर आपको writer का पता होगा, उसका origin कहाँ से था, उसका main homeland क्या था, so you can easily make a guess of the works as well. Okay, so please remember the state in which Arundhati Roy is born, that is Kerala. And basically her experiences in Kerala also provide the setting for the god of small things. Okay, and for the god of small thing, Arundhati Roy has won the Booker Prize. ठीक है, उसको इसके लिए क्या मिला था, उसको इसके लिए बुकर प्राइज मिला था. Okay, and that her experiences in Kerala has been shown by Arundhati Roy. Just a second. Okay, for experience in Kerala has been shown by Arundhati Roy in her work The God of Small Thing, and for this work she has won the Booker Prize. Fine, let's discuss about the God of Small Things. So basically, again, as I told you that her experiences she has shown as the God of Small Things. So obviously the setting of the God of Small Things is Kerala. ये आपका क्वेश्चन आ चुका है, ये मैंने लास्ट आई थिंक आपके जो प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन सेशन था उसमें भी सॉल्व कराए थे. यू हैव टू मैच द सेटिंग. सो उसमें गॉड ऑफ द स्मॉल थिंग हैज बीन मैच विद Kerala. So you should remember that it has been set in Kerala. And who was the main character of this work? Belutha is a main character and she has been portrayed as a untouchable. Belutha was the main character who has been shown as an untouchable. Now tell me in the chat box, those who are watching, whose novel is untouchable? किसने untouchable लिखा है? Indian author किसने untouchable लिखा है? In the chat box. Please let me know in the chat box who has written the work Untouchable, which deals with the life of Bakha as an untouchable. Quickly in the chat box. Who has written the work Untouchable? I've told you in the previous session, if you have attended, then you must be knowing that who is the writer of the work Untouchable. Okay, so basically Untouchable was written by Mulk Raj Anand. Okay, so as I told you, the earlier writers of the Indian literature, Mulk Raj Anand, Raja Rao and R.K. Narayan. And Mulk Raj Anand has written Untouchable, which shows the life of Bakha as an untouchable. Very good, Mosmi. It is a Mulk Raj Anand, which shows the life of Bakha as an untouchable, and it actually based on the real life experience of the author when her aunt was actually humiliated by a Muslim woman, and that's the experience from that he has adapted in his work Untouchable. Okay. Similarly, The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy also deals with the life of untouchable, and what is the name of untouchable over here? It is Belutha. Okay, and as I told you, it's won a Booker Prize for this novel, and this novel deals with the dysfunctional Anglophile family of Rahel and her twin brother Esther and their English born cousin Sophie. Okay, Sophie. Yes, Bakha is a sweeper. Very good, Mosmi. Okay, so Sophie, Esther and Rahel. So Rahel Anglophile family से deal करता था. उसमें कौन कौन रहता था? It was actually the family of Rahel. And उसके दो twin brothers थे. One name was Esther and the English born cousin, that is Sophie Mall. Okay, Sophie Mall, Esther. Esther and Rahel. ठीक है, ये भी कैरेक्टर्स थे इस पर्टिकुलर वर्क में. एंड रिमेंबर the English born cousin of Rahel was Sophie Mall. ठीक है, whose visit to the village of Ayappam, just take the name of the village, and she visited that village, and basically it actually precipitates into tragedy. Okay, and as I told you in my that lecture, previous year's question lecture, as I told you that the God of Small Things has a reference to Kipling and Marx. Okay, so this Arundhati Roy in this particular work gives reference to Rudyard Kipling, okay, Kipling and Karl Marx. उसको यहाँ पे रेफरेंस दिया गया. क्वेश्चन ऑफ नेट, ये प्रीवियस ईयर से पूछा जा चुका है. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम रिपीटिंग अगेन. ओके, एंड इट गिव्स एन ऑथेंटिक सेंस ऑफ मलयालम speaking community as well. ठीक है, so basically she has depicted the Malayalam speaking community in this particular work. Okay, I hope you are getting what I am teaching, and please like the session to mark your attendance. Fine. Okay, is there any problem with Arundhati Roy? If not, let's proceed to Bharati Mukherjee now. Okay, So now Bharti Mukherjee, as I told you when I was explaining you the history of Indian English literature, I told you there were some writers who were the diaspora writers who were actually the Indian origin writers, but they never actually, they rejected the label of Indian writers from their name, and they never like to be called as Indian. Okay, and as I told you, V.S. Naipaul has been also called as a writer. He was like to be called as a writer from everywhere and nowhere. Okay, so that's why these were the some this Bharti Mukherjee was also a diaspora writer, and she was an Indian born American writer who rejected the ethnic label of Indian writer. So please remember the very important point that Bharti Mukherjee has rejected the Indian label of, the label of Indian writers. Okay, and why she has rejected this label? Because she sees herself as an American. Okay, she never used to say that I'm an Indian, because maybe of the cultural shift. Okay, the culture of America is superior to be an Indian, so she would never like to be called as Indian, and she herself sees an American. So she rejected the label of Indian writer. Okay, and these are some of her famous works: The Tiger's Daughter, Jasmine, and The Holder of the World. In सबसे questions आते हैं. So I will be telling you about each work in short, the main characters and the setting. So this work, The Tiger's Daughter, it is the first novel of Bharti Mukherjee. You should remember that Tiger's Daughter is the first novel of Bharti Mukherjee. Okay, and basically in this particular novel, she conceived at a very difficult phase of her life when she herself was struggling to determine her own identity vis-a-vis Indian heritage. ठीक है, so इसमें जो उसने जो main character है, it was something related to her character in real life as well, because when she was writing this work, she was struggling to actually conceive her as an American or an Indian. So she was having an identity crisis at that point of time. So this was something, a backdrop of this novel, under which thought or which mindset this novel has been written. Okay, and in The Tiger's Daughter, who was the main character? Tara. Okay, so Tara has been called as the Tiger's Daughter. So Tara is the main character in this work, who is a protagonist, and she experienced the American life, and she realizes the gulf between the two worlds. Okay, so she was actually experiencing, like Bharti Mukherjee was also living in America, and she was experiencing the American life. Similarly, Tara was also experiencing the American life, and she was having an identity crisis, and she actually was on a journey to realize the gulf between two worlds, because American culture and Indian culture में बहुत difference होता है, तो उस difference को understand करने में उनका identity crisis हो रहा था, and that's the story of Tara as a Tiger's Daughter. Okay, and basically the story revolves around Tara as the protagonist, who was raised in Calcutta. Okay, she was an Indian, she was raised in Calcutta, and later on she was educated in Vassar College in New York, and married to an American. You know, see how the cultural shift is there. पैदा हुई वो कैलकाटा में, उसने education ली न्यूयॉर्क से, and later on she got married to an American man. So that's why she was having an identity crisis, and she was actually realizing the gulf between the two worlds. Okay, and this novel explores her sense of culture shock when she travels back to India. And she was basically, when she traveled back to India, she was intertwined with the political situation in Calcutta and West Bengal. Okay, so basically when she came back, so political situation was worse in Calcutta, there were political riots, and then she has a culture shock. So please remember in short that Tiger's Daughter is Tara, who was suffering from culture shock, and it is kind of considered to be the story of Bharti Mukherjee at that point of time, because her, whatever was her mindset, she has portrayed in the form of the protagonist Tara in the work The Tiger's Daughter. Is this clear? Any problem? Okay, so let's move to the next work, that is Jasmine. Okay, so Jasmine is again a very important work of Bharti Mukherjee, and it narrates the story of a 17-year-old Hindu woman who leaves India, and she settles in USA after her husband's mother in a religious attack in India. ठीक है, so there was a woman जिसके उसके husband पे attack हुआ था, and then she left India and she settles in USA. Okay, and in her path of settlement she faces many problems, including she was even raped. Okay, eventually she was actually returning to the position of health professional through a series of jobs. ठीक है, तो उसने बहुत सी jobs try करी to survive in America, and later on she settles down to be a health professional in America. Okay, and what she does over there, she during this journey she uproots herself from her life in India and she reroutes herself in a search of a new life and image of America as well. ठीक है, तो उसने अपनी जो आइडेंटिटी थी, इंडियन आइडेंटिटी, जो उसका बैड एक्सपीरियंस था कि वो उसका हस्बैंड मर्डर करा गया था लाइक इन इंडिया, शी एक्चुअली ट्राई टू इरेज इट, शी ट्राई टू uproot herself from the experience she had in India and she started a new life, or she reroutes herself in the search of identity, self-discovery, new life, and she encapsulates the image of America as well. Okay, so please remember that it is a story of dislocation and relocation, as the protagonist continually sheds light to more into the roles moving further westward. ठीक है, तो it was kind of a दूसरा जन्म in America. Okay, it was a rebirth of the main protagonist in this particular work, Jasmine. Is this clear? Fine. I hope you are enjoying the lecture and not getting bored with that, the description, and you are getting what I am teaching. Okay. So now next is the holder of the world. So the last work that we have Bharati Mukherjee is the holder of the world, and this is a novel by Bharati Mukherjee, who is a diaspora writer, and it is a retelling of Nathaniel Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter. ठीक है, जो मैंने आपको पढ़ाया था American literature में, that Nathaniel Hawthorne. And please tell me which movement Nathaniel Hawthorne is dealt with. किस मूवमेंट, मैंने आपको एक मूवमेंट्स पढ़ाए थे, डिफरेंट कॉन्सेप्ट्स पढ़ाए थे अमेरिकन लिटरेचर में, तो नैथानियल हॉथॉर्न किस मूवमेंट और किस कॉन्सेप्ट में फिट बैठता था, जो मैंने आपको बताया था. प्लीज लेट मी नो इन द चैट बॉक्स इफ यू रिमेंबर इट. प्लीज लेट मी नो कि Nathaniel Hawthorne is famous for which kind of concept that he used to depict in American literature. Yes. So, okay, if you don't remember, then I'll tell you that Nathaniel Hawthorne dealt with dark romanticism. ठीक है, dark romanticism जो used to deal with the torments of personal life. Okay, so that type of romanticism, dark romanticism concept, Nathaniel Hawthorne is associated with. Along with him, Herman Melville and Edgar Allan Poe are also associated with dark romanticism. Okay, so this was something extra concept or a revision of the previous concept which I have taught you. So basically, you should know the holder of the world is a retelling of Nathaniel Hawthorne's novel The Scarlet Letter. Okay, so Scarlet Letter, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया था कि जो Scarlet Letter की story है, that has been set in 17th century America. Okay, and this work, The Holder of the World, is written in the 20th century. Okay, so that's why it is a retelling of both the centuries. So उसने 17th century को और 20th century को parallelly describe करा गया है in the work The Holder of the World. So please remember 17th and 20th century has been parallelly described by Bharati Mukherjee in this particular work, The Holder of the World, and it is the retelling of Scarlet Letter. जो Nathaniel Hawthorne की work था Scarlet Letter, it is a retelling of that particular work. Is this clear? Have you noted down all the points? These are all the important points from the examination point of view, और ऐसे questions आपसे पूछे भी जाते हैं. So please make a special note of all the points. Okay, let's move ahead now. Next is Jhumpa Lahiri. Now this is again a very important writer, Jhumpa Lahiri. ये Jhumpa Lahiri, Bharati Mukherjee, V.S. Naipaul, Arundhati Roy, ये Anita Desai. These are all very important female or writers, you can say, of this Indian literature. ठीक है, Jhumpa Lahiri is basically a Pulitzer Prize winner novelist and can be categorized as a very kind of a multicultural, diasporic, post-colonial or marginal Asian contemporary writer. ठीक है, so ये भी एक diaspora writer थी, and she has also been actually cultural diaspora वो अपने works पे portray करती है. Okay, and her works are Interpreter of Maladies. It is a short story collection. ठीक है, ये बहुत ही famous work है और इसको आपको नाम याद रखने हैं. The short story collection of Jhumpa Lahiri is called as Interpreter of Maladies. Okay, and it shows the stories of Bengal, Boston and beyond, and most of other states. And it also shows the short story that gazes back from the diaspora location to the homeland. ठीक है? So basically जो homeland था, she was again a diaspora writer and she was settled in America. So उसने again वही contrast दिखाया between the two culture in her work, Interpreter of Maladies. So it is a story of Boston, Bengal, and several other cities or states in her work, Interpreter of Maladies. Okay, and the opening story of Interpreter of Malady is the temporary matter deals. The temporary matter basically deals with the problem of the self-exile and the decline of Shobha and Sukumar's mutual attachment. So Shobha and Sukumar were the two people, and they have very attached, and how their relation got declined, and they had an inability to communicate. Okay, so this kind of a scenario has been described in her first story of Interpreter of Malady, that is a temporary matter. Fine, a temporary matter. Please remember, it is the first story of Interpreter of Maladies. Okay. So this was all about interpret. Please excuse me for a minute to drink water. Okay. So now next work is a real Durban. So please remember, Interpreter of Malady is a short story collection which actually again have a cultural shock, identity crisis. ये सब उसमें depict होता है in her work, Interpreter of Maladies. Next is a real Durban. In this particular work, there is a Buri Ma. ठीक है? Buri Ma means old woman who was a refugee from East Pakistan, and she got settled in Calcutta. And she's there in Calcutta. She's attempting to adjust to every change in the society. So please remember, इसमें Rima was there, who was a refugee from East Pakistan. She was a refugee from East Pakistan, and she got settled in where? She got settled in Calcutta. And there she is actually having a problem, or she's attempting to actually adjust to every change in the society. This was all about the story, a real Durban. Now the namesake. This is the most important work of Jhumpa Lahiri, and it is the first novel of Jhumpa Lahiri. Please remember, the first novel of Jhumpa Lahiri is the namesake. Fine. Okay, so and this particular work is about a movement and settlement in a new world, and it's actually creating another world in the new, depicting the fragmented society, you can say lost in a nostalgia. ठीक है, so she was having a past and present kind of a moment. Past में जाती है, then present में आती है. So fragmented narrations, the fragmented society को she has depicted in this work, the Namesake. And as I told you, Namesake is the first novel by Jhumpa Lahiri, and it focuses on the contrasting experiences of two generations of her family. ठीक है, so two generations को उसने describe करा है. And who are these two generations? One was Ashok and Ashima. Okay, it was actually still the land of their birth, of their real home, while the country they are staying is alien one where they are not inclined to accept. ठीक है, तो वो born हुए थे इंडिया में, they were settled in US. तो उनके जो जो वर्ल्ड थे, they were not able to relate, because उनके सारे जो birth हुआ था land में, they was very known to them, they were very acquainted with all the things, but where they are living right now is totally alien. So that's why there was a clash between past and present moment in this work. Okay, and they were not able to accept their own identity, and they were feeling alienated, or you can say isolated in that particular land, or you can say world. Okay, while their son Gogol and the daughter Sonia have adopted a new identity. Okay, so basically they were born in their place only. So Gogol and Sonia, who were the two children of Ashima and Ashok, they were able to accept the new identity, or they were, you can say, they were hybrid characters. They got settled with the hybridity of the new society. Okay, and they were able to accept the fact that in the new world that world doesn't have much Indianness and precedes or stands apart from their Americanness. Fine, that was all about the namesake. ठीक है, तो कौन कौन से कैरेक्टर थे? अशोक, आशिमा, they were having the identity crisis because उनका past और present का clash हो रहा था. Where their children Gogol and Sonia, they were able to accept the new society. उनको कुछ identity crisis नहीं हो रहा था. They have adopted well to the new identity, and that's why they are able to adapt to a new hybridity as well. ठीक है, this was all about namesake. Is this clear? Any problem you can ask me in the chat box. Okay, so now let's move ahead. Next is Salman Rushdie. Again, Salman Rushdie is a very important writer, and you should remember that he has been accused of blasphemy. ठीक है, blasphemy क्या होता है? Blasphemy होता है when you are talking against about the religion. ठीक है, so that's why he was a blasphemous writer as well. So he is a novelist and a short story writer, and he was born in Bombay to a Muslim family. ठीक है, वो Muslim था, and he was born in Bombay to a Muslim family. And Rushdie's bicultural upbringing forms the main theme of his writing. So what is the main theme of Salman Rushdie writing? His bicultural upbringing. Okay, and he used the allegorical tradition in his writing as well, and it is also considered as a major component of magic realism. Question of net. वो बाइकल्चरल राइटर था, अपने बाइकल्चरल को kind of a themes or he used to bring up with his writing. He was associated with allegorical tradition and he used to depict magic realism. Question of net, match the columns में आया था, some concepts were given and some writers were given. You have to match the correct writers. So magic realism has been found in the works of Salman Rushdie. Please remember this. This is a previous year question. Okay. Magic realism has been found in the works of Salman Rushdie. Okay, so these are some of the novels: Grimace, Midnight Children, Shame, The Satanic Verse, Enchantment of Florence. Again, all these are very important works. So you should first of all remember that there's a character called as Padma, okay, who is the central character of the novel Midnight Children and Mood's Last Sigh. Okay, उसने कौन लिखी थी? लास्ट साइड. इन दोनों का जो सेंट्रल कैरेक्टर है दैट इज पद्मा. प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस थिंग. ठीक है, लेट्स कम टू द वर्क. लेट्स स्टडी अबाउट ग्रिमस फर्स्ट. सो बेसिकली ग्रिमस इज अगेन अ इंपॉर्टेंट वर्क एंड इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ फैंटेसी एंड अ साई फिक्शन. ठीक है, साइंस फिक्शन है, एक फैंटेसी है विच नरेट्स द स्टोरी ऑफ द फ्लैपिंग ईगल. ओके, इसको किसने कौन शो करता है इसमें? इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ फैंटेसी plus sci-fi. It is a science fiction and a fantasy that shows or narrates the tale of a flapping eagle, and this flapping eagle was a young Indian who receives the gift of immortality and by drinking a magic fluid and wanders the earth. ठीक है, and वो कितने दिनों के लिए wander करती है? He wanders the earth for 777 years, 777 years, 7 months and 7 days. Okay. Okay, so this eagle, the flapping eagle, has been given the gift of immortality when she has drunk the magic fluid, and then she wanders the earth for 777 years, 7 months and 7 days. And why she wanders? He wanders in the search for his immortal sister and exploring identities before actually failing through a hole in the Mediterranean Sea. So after wandering for this much time in the search of his immortal sister, he actually got drowned in a Mediterranean Sea. Okay, and he arrives in a parallel dimension. Okay, at the mystical Scalp Island, where those immortals who were tired of the world but are reluctant to give up their immortality exist in a static community under a you can say the subtle and sinister अथॉरिटी, ठीक है। तो जहाँ पे जिस होल में जो पैरेलल यूनिवर्स में वो फॉल होता है, तो देयर all the creatures who have been bestowed with the gift of immortality, they have become tired of immortality, okay, because they cannot bear more of much of the life, and they have become tired of immortality, and they want to give up their immortality, so they have been settled over that state. So then this eagle went to that world. Fine. Is this clear? Next is Midnight Children, very important work. Please read the Midnight Children as well. Okay, so basically this work narrates the story of Salim Sinai, who was born on the stroke of midnight of the day when India got independence, and whose life became emblematic for the political and social identity of the nation. Okay, so basically when the India got independence at the stroke of the clock at 12, this person Salim Sinai has been born, and that's why he become emblematic, or he is a symbol of the political and social destiny of the nation. Okay, so Salim was the main character who was born 12 बजे born हुआ था when India got independence, and that's why he has been part of both. He has been the symbol of national and the political situation of the nation. Okay, is this clear? Okay, and this Salim with his you can say that telepathic powers. What you understand what is telepathic powers? When you can just you can just transform the idea from your mind to the other person's mind, and with the help of his telepathic powers he connects with other children endowed with same magical powers. ठीक है, तो उसके सिर्फ यही उसके पास powers नहीं थी, other children जिसके पास powers थी, with his telepathic power he can just connect with those children, and Shiva and Parvati, the which are other two characters with same notable gifts. Okay, and this novel is considered very allegorical because we have different reference to different people, and some in the character or something has been portrayed in this particular novel. Is this clear about Midnight Children? So just remember that India independence has been in the backdrop of this particular work. Next is Shame. Okay, now if you have read about Shame, then you must be knowing that like Midnight Children, this novel is also written in style of magic realism. ठीक है, Midnight Children, Shame दोनों में ही magic realism था. तो अगर ये क्वेश्चन आता है आपके नेट में कि which of the following work has the concept of magic realism, so it is Midnight Children and Shame. I think ये क्वेश्चन आ भी चुका है कि आपका Midnight Children ही दिया हुआ था and magic realism दूसरे कॉलम में दिया गया था, and you have to match the work with the concept. So magic realism has been shown in Midnight Children. ठीक है, so please remember that Shame is also a work of magic realism, and the subject of this work is Pakistan. ठीक है, Pakistan and actually narrates the story of three families, Shakil, Haider, and one more character was there, Harappa family. तीन families की story है, and the subject is Pakistan. Okay, this was all about Shame. तो इसमें किसको दिखाया गया है? पाकिस्तान को है, and it shows the story of three families. Clear? Is it fine? Are you getting it? Any problem? Please ask me in the chat box. Okay. Next is satanic verse. This is a very important work. Okay. ये please आप इसको पढ़ना और इसके notes बनाना, because satanic verse is very important work, and you should remember that it's a paranormal novel which questions the power of faith. Okay. So please remember it is a paranormal novel and it questions the power of faith. कितना आपका faith strong है? That kind of a question has been put by Salman Rushdie in the work Satanic Verses. Okay, and the certain passages of this novel were interpreted as blasphemous, and it was brought under the name of Rushdie fatwa, or he was given a death sentence. Please remember that for Satanic Verses, you know that Satan was not a god, follower of God, he was against God. So here also some passages of Satanic Verses has been there, which has been considered as blasphemy, that is, it was considered against the religion. Okay, and that's why the ordeal was put in the name of Salman Rushdie, and he was given a death sentence. Okay, and this novel basically he employs magic realism along with the portrayal of contemporary situation. In also satanic verses में भी magic realism पाया गया है. Please remember this. Okay, so if the question comes which of the following work of Rushdie has been considered blasphemous, then you should remember for satanic verse he was given a death sentence because in this particular work certain passage was considered against religion. Fine? Is it okay? Okay. Now next is the Enchantress of Florence. इससे भी question आया है आपके नेट में Enchantress of Florence से. So you should remember that this particular work is written in 3 parts. Okay, जैसे Fire on the Mountain by Anita Desai was written in 3 parts. Similarly, the Enchantress of Florence is also written in 3 parts. Okay, and the central theme of this particular work is the visit of a European to the you can say the Mughal Emperor Akbar's court. ठीक है, so एक मुगल एम्परर अकबर कोर्ट में आया था and his claim that he is long last relative of Akbar, born of an exiled Indian princess and an Italian from Florence. ठीक है, तो उसने क्या बोला, एक यूरोपियन आया अकबर के कोर्ट में and he said that I am your relative. ठीक है, अकबर से बोला that I am your relative and how I am your relative because I was born from the exiled Indian prince. एक prince था that was exiled and उसने किससे शादी करी, he has married to an Italian woman from Florence and I am a child of this couple and that's how I am your relative. Okay, and the stories move between you can say that continents, the court of Akbar to Renaissance Florence, and it actually in the end he meets the this story meets the themes of history, fantasy and fable. Okay, so it is a history, fantasy and fable. Okay, so please remember here a man from Europe visits the court of Akbar. Please remember this very important point. Clear? Are you done with Salman Rushdie? Any problem, please post in the chat box. I'll be answering that. Okay, let's move ahead now. और हाँ, जिसका मैंने आपको बताया कि this magic realism is there in the works. Please remember the works as well because this question has been asked in net. So please make a note of it. Next, Vikram Seth. Now Vikram Seth is again a very important writer and you should remember that Vikram Seth and Salman Rushdie have been referred many times as terrible twins. ठीक है, Vikram Seth plus Salman Rushdie are called as terrible twins. इनको terrible twins भी बोला जाता है. Please remember कि Salman Rushdie और Vikram Seth को together they are known as terrible twins. Okay, so now this Vikram Seth is again an Indian novelist, a short story writer and a poet. Okay, and his early works have a collection, basically forms a collection of short story that is mappings. Okay, so mappings is a mapping is a collection of poems. Mappings क्या है, इसका early work that was considered to be the first work and it is a collection of poems. Okay, then his novel is there, that is Golden Gate. Again, then after that his novel has come, that is the Golden Gate. And out of all the work, The Suitable Boy is the most famous work of Vikram Seth. ठीक है, Suitable Boy is the most famous work and if you have read Suitable Boy, if you have seen the novel Suitable Boy, it is very thick. Okay, very hefty book it is. So if you want to read, you can go for the story because it is again a very interesting story. Okay, let's talk about the Golden Gate. So the Golden Gate is actually set in San Francisco and is written in 14 rhyming you can say stanzas. Okay, and the story deals with ultra modern protagonists. And who were the protagonists? You have to read and then you have to find out who are the protagonists. Okay, and the work is a novel in verse composed of some stanzas. Okay, so basically it is also considered as novel in verse. याद रखना है, the Golden Gate has been considered as a novel in verse. Is it clear? Okay. Next is A Suitable Boy. So for the suitable boy, you should remember that this novel is set in India after partition, okay, and it narrates the story of Mehra's search for a suitable husband for their daughter Lata. Okay, so there was a woman, Mehra family, and she was searching for a suitable match for her daughter Lata, and it has been set in India after partition. ठीक है, so इसका backdrop क्या था? After partition novel है ये, एंड उसकी जो किसके लिए वो मैच ढूंढ रही थी, इट वाज शी वाज सर्चिंग फॉर द मैच ऑफ हर डॉटर लता. ओके, एंड हाउ व्हाट आर द बिल्कुल टिपिकल एक इंडियन फैमिली उसमें डिपिक्ट करी गई है. I think you will be able to relate with your family as well because it is a very interesting work and it actually depicts a realism जो जैसा होता है हमारी society में, the form we actually face when we are looking for a match or when our parents are looking for a match. So that kind of a scenario has aptly depicted in the work A Suitable Boy. So if you want to read, if you want to experience your contemporary story or contemporary society, then you can have a read of A Suitable Boy. It's a very important and a good book. Okay, next is an equal music. Now this equal music, you should remember that it has been set in London. It has been set in London and it actually narrates a romance by the violinist in a string quartet. Okay, it is a romantic narrated by a violinist in a string quartet. So किसने narrate करा? Please remember this equal music has been narrated by a violinist. ठीक है, वायलिनिस्ट था जिसने जो वायलिन बजाता था एंड ही हैज नरेटेड दिस वर्क. वायलिन जो वायलिन बजाता था, he has narrated this work, violinist. Okay, and then last work is Two Lives. You should remember that Two Lives has been considered as a memoir of Seth's great uncle and aunt. ठीक है, so it is a memoir. जो सेठ, जो विक्रम सेठ के कोई uncle and aunt थे, तो उनका relationship it has been portrayed in the memoir Two Lives. Please remember that. Okay, so this was all about Vikram Seth. So I hope you have got the concepts right. I have understood about Vikram Seth. So you should remember that Salman Rushdie, okay, and Vikram Seth are known as terrible twins. Next, Amitabh Ghosh, again a very important writer. So you should remember that Amitabh Ghosh is a Bengali author and who was born in Calcutta and grew up in India, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Okay, and Ghosh is the author of A Circle of Reason. So the Circle of Reason has been considered his initial work. Okay, then Shadow Lines, The Calcutta Chromosome, The Hungry Triad, and these three works has been considered as epistrology. Very important thing. ये आपको ये पूछा गया है क्वेश्चन नेट में कि which of the work of Amitabh Ghosh has been considered an Ipis trilogy. So it is Sea of Poppies, River of Smoke, Flood Fire. ये फर्स्ट पार्ट है, सेकेंड पार्ट है, थर्ड पार्ट है. ओके, तो इसका आपको याद रखना है कि इबिस ट्रायोलॉजी किसको बोलते हैं? Sea of Poppies, okay, Sea of Poppies, River of Smoke and Flood of Fire. So Amitabh Ghosh has been basically known for the Ibis trilogy. Okay, and ये सारे जो works, The Reason of Circle, Shadow Lines, Calcutta Chromosome, Hungry Tide, you have to remember that these are very important works of Amitabh Ghosh, and please make a reading of these works. Okay, and please write the notable characters and notable work, notable setting. Okay, and you should remember that River of Smoke is a part of the trilogy and it is written in continuation of the story of Sea of Poppies. So ये अलग अलग parts नहीं है, ये story connected है. तो जहाँ पे left करा गया है Sea of Poppies में, वहीं से River of Smoke has been started, and this novel traces the fate of other characters from Ibis and describes the opium trade in China. ठीक है, so please remember this, ये question आ चुका है. It actually River of Smoke describes the opium tradition in China. This has been asked. What Ibis trilogy, the River of Smoke describe? It describes the opium tradition in China. Okay, please make a note of it. Okay, let's move ahead now. Toru Dutt. Now, Toru Dutt is again a very important linguist and a writer and a short story writer. Basically, Toru Dutt was a natural linguist, and in her short life, He traced that profession in Bengali, English, French, and later on Sanskrit. And she left behind an impressive collection of prose and poetry. Okay, so she was a prose writer, poetry writer, and she was a linguist in various languages like Bengali, English, French. Okay, and later on she also have been considered as a fluent speaker of Sanskrit as well. Okay, and her two novels, and what are the two novels? The Unfinished Bianca. So this is an unfinished work. Okay, Bianca in English is called as a Young Spanish Maiden. Okay, this is a Young Spanish Maiden English title, and Le Journal Mademoiselle Words is the French title. Please remember this. Okay, this is an English title and the other one is the French title. Okay, so you should remember that this work has been written in both of the languages, and these works were based outside India with non-Indian protagonists. Okay, जिसमें जो protagonists they were non-Indians. Okay, and her poetry comprises of a sheep glean in French fields. Okay, so this is a poetry. This is the poetry of Toru Dutt, a sheep glean in French fields, and it actually consists of her translation into English of French poetry. So there was a French poetry whom she has translated in English, and she has named that poetry as a sheep glean in French fields. So it is a translation of French poetry in English. Okay, it is a translation of French poetry in English. Please make a note of it. Fine. Okay, next next poetry collection is Ancient Ballads and Legends of Hindustan, which actually compiles her translation and adaptation from Sanskrit literature. This is a very important point. जैसे उसने शीप ग्लीन एंड फ्रेंच साइड से ट्रांसलेशन ऑफ फ्रेंच पोइट्री इनटू इंग्लिश, एंड इसमें उसका अडेप्टेशन ऑफ संस्कृत लिटरेचर दिखाया है. ठीक है, जो उसमें एज आई टोल्ड शी वाज अ मल्टीलिंगुअल पर्सन, बंगाली, इंग्लिश, फ्रेंच, later on Sanskrit. So that's why this work, the Ancient Ballads and Legends of Hindustan, is a compilation of her translation and adaptations from Sanskrit literature. So adaptation from Sanskrit. Just wait a minute. Adaptation and translation from Sanskrit literature. तो जैसे आपने टोरू दत्त की पढ़ी होगी, आर कैजरीना ट्री, लोटस, ऑल दीज पोम्स एक्चुअली कंप्राइज इन द कलेक्शन एंशिएंट बैलेड एंड लेजेंड्स ऑफ हिंदुस्तान. So please make a reading of our Casuarina tree and lotus. These are very important works from the examination point of view. So this was all about Toru Dutt. Next is Kampala Markandeya Nectar Sea. very important work. ये आपको recently भी अभी जो आपका 2022 में नेट का एग्जाम हुआ था उसमें भी मैच द कॉलम्स में आपको ये आया था कि you have to match the author with the work. So Kampala Markandeya has been matched with the nectar in a sieve. And please remember the title of this particular work, Nectar in a Sieve, is taken from poem Work Without Hope by Coleridge. ठीक है, so Coleridge ने poem लिखी थी Work Without Hope. Okay, Coleridge ने एक poem लिखी थी Work Without Hope, जिससे the title has been taken of Kampala Markandeya's Nectar in a Sieve. Okay, so please remember the title of this particular work has been taken from the Coleridge poetry, that is Work Without Hope. Okay, and it's actually the story in this particular story is set in India, and it is actually set in during the period of intense urban development. Okay, so यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा आपको दिखाया है सिटी लाइफ और अर्बन लाइफ का क्लैश दिखाया है. So So it actually shows the intense urban development, and it is a kind of fictional history of a marriage between Rukmani. Okay, so Rukmani was the main character, and she was also the youngest daughter of a village headman, and she was married to a person named as Nathan. Okay, Nathan was her husband, whom she was married to. And what was the profession of Nathan? Nathan's profession was a tenant farmer. Okay, Rukmani, Mani and Nathan. Okay, and Nathan was a farmer. तो उनका जो मैरिज में पूरा उनको ओडियल दिखाया कि हाउ दे वर मैरिड एंड हाउ वर द मैरिड लाइफ. एंड हेयर रुक्मणी टेल्स अ स्टोरी इन अ वेरी फर्स्ट पर्सन फ्रॉम द arranged marriage to Nathan at the age of 12 to his death many years later. So she was married to Nathan when she was 12 years old, and she has narrated the story from the first person, that is I perspective. उसने खुद की story बताई है, and कहाँ से कहाँ story trace करती when she was married to Nathan at the age of 12, and how when he died many years later. Till then she narrates her events and experiences in marriage. Okay, is this clear? So please remember Nectar in a Sieve, again a very important work of Indian literature and of Kamla Markandeya. Now Hanif Qureshi. So you should remember that Hanif Qureshi is an English Pakistani writer. Okay, so he is an English Pakistani writer. He's an English Pakistani writer, and he has written two of the famous works, that is Buddha of Suburbia and The Black Album. Okay, and he also has won a Brideweight Award for this novel, The Buddha of Suburbia. Okay, The Buddha of Suburbia से क्या जीता? He has won a Brideweight Award. He has won a Whitebread Award for the novel The Buddha of Suburbia, and you should also know that it is said to be very autobiographical. Okay, so this The Buddha of Suburbia by Hanif Qureshi has been considered as autobiographical work because he narrates his experience in this particular work. So it has been considered an autobiographical work, and it is the main character is Karim. Okay, Karim is a main character in this work who has been considered as a mixed race teenager. Okay, so again an identity crisis is there. So he was a mixed race teenager who is very you can say desperate to escape the suburban South London and make new opportunity when a life in the theater announces itself. Okay, so he want to escape from the usual or normal life, and he want to be a theater artist. So he was on a journey to make a career in the theater. Okay, and when there is nothing left for him to do in London, he stays in New York for 10 months. Okay, so and later on he returns to London, and he takes on a part in a TV soap, you can say opera. Okay, TV soap opera में उसने part लिया. This was all about the Buddha of Suburbia. Next is the Black Album. So you should know that this work of Hanif Qureshi is about religion of contemporary London. Okay, so this Black Album shows religion of contemporary London. ठीक है, I hope you are getting what I am teaching and you have got a lot of concepts right of these writers and their works. Okay, any problem you can just post in the chat box. I will be answering your doubts, and please make the note of all the important points which I have taught you in this class. So that was all about today's class. Today we have discussed the rest of the writers which were left of Indian literature, and have tried to cover the main important works of them and the main characters, setting, concepts, किसमें क्या आता है, सब मैंने आपको इस ऑडियो में इस वीडियो में बताने की कोशिश करी है. And I hope you have got a lot of concepts right and have made a lot of notes out of this particular lecture. Okay, so this was all about Indian literature. Also, please stay tuned for 1 p.m. session. I have brought a lot of questions of previous years in that particular session, and whatever writers I have missed in the 2 theory sessions, I will be covering in that lecture as well. ठीक है, तो उसमें मैं उस राइटर के बारे में बताऊंगी, उनके कुछ वर्क्स के बारे में भी आपसे डिस्कस करूंगी. So please stay tuned for the 1 p.m. session. Okay, so I hope you are enjoying this series. So I will be bringing each and every topic that are important from an examination point of view. From next class, I'll be bringing some new concepts or new theory concepts of your examination sub-syllabus. Okay? So till then, stay tuned to all the series or all the, the lectures I'm bringing. I hope you're enjoying it as well. And taking a lot of substance home is a good thing, and that's my motive as well. Okay? So I hope you will stay tuned for the 1 p.m. session as well. So till then, take care and bye-bye.